Okay, guys. Comico here from G.P.C.D, and I'm here to talk about that Comicon trailer for Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. It's looking absolutely fantastic, and I'm here to do a little analysis, break it down for you, and show a little more that you might have gotten just from seeing the trailer once or twice. I really looked at it, breaking it down for you. We're gonna see some interesting things here, and I'm gonna show them if you didn't see them already. So, for the first one here, we're gonna have a couple screenshots here and there. I'm gonna show them, highlight certain things. Yeah. Okay, now the first thing that you're gonna notice here, you're gonna see Zod in a body bag, and the thing that I find the most interesting about that is the fact that they have Zod's body. You kind of forget because the movie's been so long away, Man of Steel, that Superman did not completely obliterate the body, and Zod's body was perfectly fine mostly. Zod's body is shown there to be dead in a body bag. The interesting thing about that is that it would imply that the humans are now investigating into the Kryptonians. Perhaps for this movie, we will see humans gaining more information about the Kryptonians and knowing how they actually get their powers. Now, that would be completely interesting because that would also explain the kryptonite, but I'm going to show that later. Now, the other thing, speculations that you could say about this is that if they have Zod's body, will they be able to synthetically copy these powers? Will they be able to gain Superman's powers later down the line in the franchise? What will happen to Zod's body after this first movie? Will it be a plot device past this? If Zod's body is there, will that be the reason why they figure out how to use kryptonite, or will there be something else? Furthermore, where do they get the kryptonite? But again, next photo. Zod. Really interesting. I'm glad he's in the movie. A lot of people think that they're just copying off of Marvel with these movies, but I feel like the amount of time that they're giving these movies is really letting them think up things like this and giving them very good solutions to common problems as to how can Batman fight Superman because of Zod, because of certain advancements. But also continuing, I'm gonna assume that Batman is not the one with Zod's body, but the government. And if the government has Zod's body, then how does Batman use that information if he does use that information at all? How does word go around of how the Kryptonians gain their powers or use their powers? Furthermore, how, what you know, is LexCorp the one with Zod's body? It would make sense because we see Lex a lot in this trailer. Furthermore, you could ask the question of how Batman, is he doing his own research himself? Do people know about Zod's body? Is it kept secret? These questions and more obviously will be answered as we see more of this. Alright, so next what you should be seeing is a picture of Lex Luthor messing around with this kryptonite. You'll see it in a seemingly airtight container. The first thing that I noticed about the image was that the kryptonite wasn't actually very shiny, which is what we usually associate with kryptonite. We usually see kryptonite as shiny, glowing, like there's a light bulb inside of it, right? But this kryptonite seems very dull. It's more earthy. Now, I feel that this is very interesting, but it's come to be somewhat, what's the word? The word is expected, of these movies because DC is going for something much darker, much more serious, and that is extremely evident in this movie. Um, the Dawn of Justice movie, you see that this kryptonite is a lot more realistic. It's a finite amount. Assuming that that's the only chunk that anyone is aware of existing, it's going to be interesting how they break it apart and use it. Because it seems like a large amount, but I can bet you that it can be very finite and almost scarce very soon as more people learn about the kryptonite and utilize it to fight Superman. Now, the other important thing that I want to point out about this picture is how Lex Luthor is looking at this rock. He's looking at it like it's God, right? And this is further accentuated by the fact that Lex Luthor he seems to be taking a very observatory role in this movie. You know, he looks at Superman and Batman, and he sees two symbols fighting. Uh, I feel that this picture accentuates his role as an observer, and considering that also, it would accentuate his role as almost the audience because he's saying, "Oh, look, the red coats are coming. The red coats are coming. It's day versus night. It's this versus that." He sees it as a symbol. So he looks at this kryptonite and he sees a god killer. On to the next image. Okay, after that, now you should be seeing an image of LexCorp. The biggest thing that I see about this image is the fact that everything is completely destroyed, like there was a battle there. But of course, we all know that Gotham City is the battlefield, so assuming that LexCorp is in Gotham City, in this movie, then it would have also been destroyed. You see fire, you see a destroyed car, police are there, there's a man on a motorcycle who I'm going to assume is the main character, or someone important, maybe Lex Luthor going to LexCorp. I also assume that LexCorp is where the kryptonite is located, because why else would it be there? Lex Luthor is the one to have been looking at the kryptonite in the last image, so I'm going to assume that that's Lex Luthor on motorcycle. Points for Lex Luthor for knowing how to use a motorcycle. I don't know how to. I wish I was Lex sometimes. Then I would be bald. Also, Lex isn't bald in this movie. As some of you might know, Lex Luthor wasn't always bald. He was a redhead before, and then he lost it due to some freak accident when with Superman when they were still friends. I don't know about how he lost it in New 52 continuity, if he ever had it, New 52 continuity, but old 52 continuity, or pre-Flashpoint, I should say, we know that Lex Luthor used to have the red hair. I can say this, I think that it was a good move to get rid of his hair, but because it differentiates himself with other versions of Lex Luthor and also makes him seem a bit more interesting as fans won't write him off as just, oh, it's Lex Luthor. But anyway, what more can we take away from this? Now I'm going to assume that LexCorp is a very powerful corporation in this movie, seeing as how they got a hold of kryptonite. I'm also going to assume that they got a hold of kryptonite. Um, the building's safe though. Now this might be a hint that they have some kind of defensive mechanism keeping the building safe. But other than that, we can only assume that maybe the fighting just didn't get away from there, that just didn't get that close to the building. But I'm gonna assume that this might hint at LexCorp either being a very sturdy building, being the only one that's relatively safe, or having some kind of defense mechanism, which would assume that LexCorp is not only making money but also utilizing that money in many different areas, such as acquiring kryptonite and defenses. Now, the people there in that dark van, those people there that were looking there, they seem just like cops, but we all know that this is this is a comic book movie, and that might not be the case. It could be LexCorp's own personal army or whatever. I'm not gonna bet money on that, but it's an interesting idea. Okay, now moving on, we're gonna see Lex Luthor, and if you look over to the left, you're gonna see Superman looking over there. If you actually saw the trailer, you would know that he is knelt down with Lex Luthor looking at him with a smug smile, and I feel like this also capitalizes on Lex Luthor's own observer role. He's looking at Superman, probably discerning things just from his attitude. I don't know why Superman would be kneeling to him like that. That's actually something that I can't really gather too much information from. I could only assume that Lex Luthor has some kind of status. The fact that Superman goes to him, is there in public, not towards him, would assume that Lex Luthor has some kind of power, has some kind of influence, maybe political power also. So we can assume from there that Lex Luthor is some kind of important figure in general, just to have an audience with Superman, just to have an audience with Kal-El, with Clark Kent. I'm sorry. Now, we can all, I'm probably gonna guess that this is probably the scene where Lex Luthor is getting inside of his head, messing with Clark Kent, messing with Kal-El, trying to get him to break down. It's probably gonna be a defining moment for both of these characters, and I can't wait to see that in theaters. Moving along closer to Kal-El, you're gonna see in that picture that we're gonna see that Superman is there with these people all around him in his classic Superman red and blue outfit, you're gonna see that there are people around him with skull makeup on. Some of them, not all of them, but they're all grabbing at him. And I feel like this is going to be one of the scenes probably in the beginning of the movie where we see Superman finally get to Gotham City. As we all know, that the movie is going to play on these different factions: who likes Superman, who doesn't like Superman, who sides with Batman, who doesn't side with anyone, who sides with Kal-El, things like that. So I'm going to assume that there are a sizable amount of people that sides with Superman, with the Kryptonian man. So seeing this, we can also see that Superman also isn't that comfortable with it. We can see him with a little weird expression on his face. He's not really looking at them, not really playing to the crowd. So I can also assume that Superman, Kal-El, Clark Kent, doesn't really want to be in this role, doesn't really want to be the god that people say he is, doesn't want to be the role model. And we can also see that also accentuated in the fact that the woman who I'm going to assume is his mother, I forget though, I'd have to watch the movie again, but she's saying, oh, you don't owe the world anyone, Clark, which also assumes that all this is going to really get inside of his head, and we're going to see Superman questioning things, going to this woman, asking, what should I do? And she tells him, you don't owe the world anything. You've done good. So I feel like this is going to be a very defining. It's funny too that we have Man of Steel, which should be the defining movie for this character, but we see him broken down and examined even more in the second movie, Batman v Superman. I feel like this image really drives home the mental troubles that Superman, Kal-El, Clark Kent will be facing in Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice. Now, one of the more defining moments of the movie, of course, is going to be Batman versus Superman facing each other there. We see that the fight is already underway. We see that things are already on fire, already damaged, and we see Batman standing out of his Batmobile completely tarnished. He's probably not using that anytime soon. With Superman on the hood of the car. Probably not a good place for Batman to be, considering that Superman could just punch him and send him flying. But as we know, that the role of Kryptonite is in this movie, Superman might not be in the very good position that I assume that he's in for this part in the movie, although we don't know what's going on, if he's weakened yet, if Batman's there yet. Seems like the Batmobile wasn't that good of an item to use, it wasn't that effective, I'm going to assume again. Batman Batman keeps getting knocked down. You see it in the trailer too. He's on the side of the building, used the grappling hook like a web shot, like he's Spider-Man, slips away before he gets obliterated by heat vision. This is just a very interesting image. Not much to be drawn from it, from what we besides what we already know about Batman versus Superman, that they're gonna be against each other. But it's just interesting and very, very, very exciting to see these two people finally face to face in a place where we can kind of discern that Batman isn't in the best spot. But we know that he's going to put up a certain fight, and I feel like this image really makes me wonder how exactly Bruce Wayne is going to put up a fight against the Kryptonian quote-unquote god. Back to Superman again. We're gonna see Superman in a court of law, and if you've seen the trailer, you know that Superman is gonna be faced with the crimes and damages that Metropolis faced. I know that a lot of people that were trying to rip on this movie were saying that, oh, look at all the damage that Metropolis is going through. Well, here you go. We know that there are consequences to alien invasions. The lives lost in that movie will not go to vain, as they will most likely be brought up in this place, in the court. It's going to be interesting to see Superman probably straining himself not to kill every single person there, as they insult him and rip on him for trying to save the world, and Superman, as we know, he's incredibly smart, but he's no lawyer. So it's going to be interesting if Superman even has a defense. If he wants to defend himself, he might not defend himself. Knowing Superman, he might just stand there silently, seeing all these people rip on him and then leave, fly away, because I know he did something similar to that in Man of Steel. So it's just going to be interesting, because that image right there, that scene, is probably going to be the point in the movie where we see the general public's reaction and the split decisions of politicians, seeing people trying to take advantage of the situation, take advantage of Kal-El, Superman, Clark Kent. This movie is going to be really interesting, and I feel like that court scene is also going to be really interesting because we're going to see Superman uh, belittled, I guess you could say, to the role of a human being in a different way from Man of Steel. Because as we know in Man of Steel, he was being restrained by the military, but here it's a court of law. Violence has no place there. So it's going to be interesting to see how Superman reacts, how this all pulls against his psyche, as I was playing around with the idea of in that first in one of those earlier images with Lex Luthor and Clark Kent. Now we know that Lex Luthor is not going to be the only one trying to get it, trying to get at Clark Kent. Okay, second to last image here, you're gonna see Bruce Wayne. It was Bruce Wayne holding a paper with red marking on it, telling him that he let his family die. Now, this is gonna be interesting. Why? Because we don't know if this is a paper from way back when they first got shot, or when it happened, in what context he got this letter. Is it hate mail? It's gonna be interesting looking back on that image now. Pulled up, excuse me. Wayne Tower devastated, dozens killed. So this is probably going to be some kind of casualty from the fight with Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent. Now, knowing this, is the battle gonna be is it gonna be a longer battle? Is it gonna take several days? See, knowing how these two fight, I always assumed that it was gonna be just a day of just epic warfare. But this image would entail or imply that there's some kind of rising action, that it doesn't go to hell in as quickly as I originally assumed. Maybe they fight, go home, sleep, and then wake up and fight again. Who knows? But there's probably going to be a bit of rising action, a bit of rising tensions, things getting destroyed until it culminates, of course, in the climax of this movie. Wayne Tower devastated again. We're gonna be seeing Bruce Wayne. He's getting mentally devastated, probably in a similar way to Kal-El. We're gonna see his mind tested and his personality stretched and expanded upon in this movie. We're gonna see characters as people, as deep intellectual people, as these writers, as we know, are trying to get us to see them as. Now we see that Kal-El is not going to be the only person being mentally tested in this movie. We know now that Bruce Wayne is also going to be mentally tested in different ways, of course, because we don't see an actual person there. We see a newspaper article, which would assume that we're seeing the public getting involved. We're seeing backlash with Kal-El, with Bruce Wayne. Of course, the key difference with Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne is that Bruce Wayne has an address for people to send hate mail like that to, where Clark Kent, I don't know where he's going to be staying for this event. But, he can't get the same kind of hate. So both of these characters are going to be tested and defined in this movie. Last but certainly not least, we're going to be seeing Bruce Wayne, Batman, I assume, being attacked by these soldiers, it seems. And if you look closely, because I've encircled it for you, in blue lines, they have Superman's emblems on their shoulders. So obviously these are Kal-El's, Clark Kent's supporters, unwilling supporters, or Clark Kent's the supporters that he doesn't want. We know that there are people who are taking the fight to the other for suit for the person. We don't know in what context Bruce Wayne is going to be in this fight for. It doesn't really seem like Superman's usual outfit. At first, I assumed that he was training, or that this might have been a flashback to when he first started being Batman. But it can't really be because they have the Superman emblem on. We know that for this movie, Bruce Wayne is going to be in the superhero game for a while. So, knowing this, why would he be in that outfit? Why would he be in that area? Which certainly can't be Gotham City, I assume, fighting these people with guns and such. Why are they not shooting him? Because I think they have guns in the image. I'm actually not looking at it right now. But regardless, we know that Bruce Wayne is going to be put in precarious situations, of course, and it seems like the public, like other people who are not Bruce Wayne and Superman, that they're going to be in this movie making their stand. I'm beginning to wonder how long this movie is going to be, because we know that we're getting introduced to the eventual cast of the Justice League in this movie. Then we're also going to have all these other people that won't really matter in the future, most likely. So it's going to be interesting to see how they have all these different elements and ideas and scenes incorporated in the movie and run smoothly, hopefully. I assume that they're going to run smoothly, mostly because it's been a very long time since Man of Steel, so they have a lot of time to work out the kinks and plan it. But anyway, this has been my analysis. This has been Comico of the G.P.C.D. I have many videos on my channels. Like, subscribe, share to see more. Let me know if you like it, comment, whatever. Just make yourselves known. So anyway, it's Comico of the G.P.C.D. I'll see you later.